For decades, we've all pretty much thought of research and development as a cost center, right? A necessary expense, but still an expense. But what if that whole idea is just wrong? What if R&D is about to become the most powerful economic engine a company has? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into, looking at how generative AI is flipping the script, all based on the brilliant work of Dr. Partha Majumdar. Okay, so to really get why this is all happening right now, you have to understand one simple, kind of brutal fact. The speed of business has fundamentally changed. We are in a totally new competitive reality. It is a constant, relentless race against the clock. And the old ways of innovating, they just can't keep up. I mean, just look at this timeline. It's wild. Back in the 70s, companies had the luxury of 10-year corporate plans. Then in the 80s, that got squeezed down to 3 years. By the 90s, you were lucky to get a 1-year strategic exercise. And now, today, we live and die by the quarterly guidance cycle. This crazy compression means those old multi-year R&D projects are basically dinosaurs. And if you want to get a sense of just how big this shift is, this quote from Dr. Majumdar really hits it home. R&D has always been this quiet engine, pushing civilization forward. But what's happening now isn't just a tune-up. He says it's the greatest transformation since the engine was first built. This is a full-blown revolution in how we invent the future. So what does this revolution actually look like? Well, on the left, you've got the old way of doing things. R&D is a cost center, a support function that reacts to what the market wants. But on the right, that's the new reality. R&D becomes the primary economic engine. It's not reacting anymore, it's proactively creating new markets. And it's doing it at an AI-accelerated pace. It's moved from the sidelines right to the very heart of company strategy. Now, this isn't just some abstract academic idea. No, there is real money on the table here. Like massive, world-changing amounts of money. And here's the number, $4.4 trillion. That is the estimated economic juice that generative AI could add to the economy every single year. It's a staggering figure, and a huge chunk of that, almost $500 billion, is expected to come just from transforming R&D. That is the prize for companies that get this right. But wait, where does all that value actually come from? Well, it's not just about making things faster. It comes from something entirely new, a capability called cognitive innovation. And here's the key thing to get. This isn't about doing the old tasks more efficiently. It's about merging human creativity with AI's raw power to do things that were, frankly, impossible before. Dr. Majumdar has this really cool philosophy for how this partnership should work. He calls it the Dharmic approach, which is all about finding the right, balanced, ethical way for humans and AI to collaborate. Think of it this way. The AI is the information generator. It's the workhorse. It can process insane amounts of data, find patterns, and never get tired. But the human is the navigator. We provide the strategy, the ethical judgment, the empathy, and ultimately we give the AI's answers meaning and direction. It's a true partnership. Okay, so we get the why. There's this huge economic driver. But what about the how? How does this actually play out in the real world? Well, that brings us to the nuts and bolts of this new model, the 3 pillars that are completely changing how R&D gets done. It all boils down to this new 3-step workflow. First, generative ideation, where you create ideas at a scale we've never seen before. Second, accelerated evaluation, where you test those ideas at lightning speed. And third, research augmentation, which is all about creating a new kind of company brain. Let's break each one down. First up, Pillar 1, generative ideation. Instead of a human designer maybe sketching out a few concepts, you give the AI the constraints and just let it go to town. Take Yamaha. For a new electric vehicle concept, their AI spit out over 2,400 unique design options in just a few weeks. That's a level of creative exploration that's just physically impossible for a human team. Next, you've got Pillar 2, accelerated evaluation. This is all about testing those thousands of ideas virtually and incredibly quickly. A perfect example is what Pfizer did during the COVID vaccine trials. They had this critical data cleanup process that normally took over a month to get through. Using an AI tool, they crushed that entire month of work down to just 22 hours. They saved a month when every single day mattered. And finally, we have research augmentation. This pillar is all about taking all that scattered knowledge in a company, the patents, the research papers, the internal reports that nobody can ever find, and turning it into a single, searchable, intelligent brain.
Think about NVIDIA's BioNemo platforms speeding up drug discovery, or how Walmart's My Assistant can instantly give employees simple answers from 1,000-page manuals. It unlocks the wisdom you didn't even know you had.
So you've got this incredible new engine, right? These three pillars. But here's the thing. You can't just drop a Formula One engine into an old family sedan and expect it to work. You have to rebuild the entire car around it. And that's what companies need to do now. They have to completely rewire the organization to support this new way of working.
So here's the 5-step blueprint for doing that rewiring. It has to start right at the very top with a C-suite-led strategy. Then you got to prioritize where to even start. Redesign your old processes, build out the right tech and data foundation. And this part is absolutely non-negotiable. You have to establish rock-solid governance for responsible AI.
And let's be super clear about that last point, because it might be the most important one. Technology alone is never, ever enough. Because AI is like a giant mirror. If we're not incredibly careful with how we guide it, it won't just reflect our best ideas. It will find, codify, and amplify our absolute worst biases at a massive scale.
And if you need a perfect and, frankly, kind of scary example of what happens when governance fails, look no further than what happened with Amazon's AI recruiting tool. The goal was simple: screen resumes faster. But it was trained on historical hiring data, which was overwhelmingly male. The result? The AI literally taught itself to be biased, penalizing any resume that included the word women's. The entire project had to be scrapped. It was a total failure. And all of that brings us right back to the central theme of this whole explainer. In an age where machines can do so much calculation and creation, our humanity, our judgment, our ethics, our sense of what's right, our dharma, that doesn't become obsolete. It becomes our single most valuable asset.
Really, Dr. Majumdar's whole message boils down to this incredibly powerful idea. The goal isn't replacement, it is synthesis. It's about learning to think with these new machines without ever, ever losing our own conscience, our own creativity, our own soul in the process.
And that leaves us with the final and maybe the most important question of all. The AI is going to get better and better at telling us what we can create. It will show us what's possible. But that leaves us, the humans, with the much harder question, the one the AI can never answer for us. Who is going to decide what we should create? That, in the end, is all on us.